Once Carl Gustav Jung wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." For decades, those words have been understood as an invitation to self-discovery, but very few people have truly grasped the weight they carry. Looking inward has never been comfortable. It is a confrontation. It is the moment when every mask stops working. There comes a point in life when your greatest enemy is no longer the world. It becomes the man you see in the mirror, not because that man is weak, but because he has learned to hide from himself what he fears seeing the most. Most people believe they fail because they lack opportunities, money, or intelligence. Jung saw something far deeper. He believed that everything left unconscious begins to direct our lives, and what follows is what we mistakenly call destiny. Think about that for a moment. What if many of the decisions you've made were never truly yours? What if your fears, your reactions, and even your limits were nothing more than patterns repeated so many times that they eventually became your identity? This is the battle that almost no one notices. It makes no noise, it leaves no visible scars. It unfolds in silence as you negotiate small compromises with yourself. Every excuse you accept, every decision you postpone, every promise you break seems insignificant. But time turns those tiny surrenders into habits, habits into character, and character into the destiny of an entire life. That is how extraordinary men disappear before they ever discover who they could have become. The world teaches you to compete with other people. Very few teach you that the only battle capable of defining your entire existence takes place inside your own mind. It is within that invisible territory that fear disguises itself as caution, comfort disguises itself as rest, and procrastination disguises itself as patience. The longer those masks remain untouched, the farther you drift from the person you were born to become. Perhaps the real question has never been how to conquer the world. Perhaps the real question is something else. Who is governing your life at this very moment? Your conscious mind, or the part of yourself you've never had the courage to face? Jung devoted much of his life to understanding this invisible conflict. After studying thousands of patients, he reached an uncomfortable conclusion. Human beings suffer not only because of what happens to them, but because of what they refuse to acknowledge within themselves. There is a part of the mind that works in the shadows. It stores every hidden fear, every silent humiliation, every unresolved failure, and every repressed desire. Jung called this realm the shadow, not because it is inherently evil, but because it exists beyond the light of conscious awareness, and everything that remains in darkness continues to influence your life. That is why someone promises to change, only to return to the same habits a few days later. That is why intelligent people sabotage valuable opportunities. That is why so many remain trapped in cycles they once swore they would never repeat. The problem is rarely a lack of ability. The problem is the invisible war between who you believe you are and what is actually controlling your decisions. As long as that battle remains unconscious, no strategy will ever be enough. You can read hundreds of books, watch countless videos, attend the best courses, and repeat positive affirmations every single day. Yet you'll continue moving in circles because real transformation never begins while the true pilot of your life remains hidden. Perhaps this is why so many people stay busy without ever being transformed. They run without direction. They produce without purpose. They accumulate external achievements while remaining empty inside. And the more they try to fill that emptiness with distractions, the farther they drift from their true nature. Look around you. We live in an age of instant information, yet also an age of constant distraction. Never before has so much knowledge been available, while so many people remain incapable of sitting alone with their own thoughts for even a few minutes. silence is frightening. Because in silence there are no notifications to interrupt your awareness, no excuses to hide your discomfort. In silence, you finally hear the one voice you've spent your entire life trying to avoid, your own. Perhaps that is why so many people fear solitude. They are not afraid of being alone. They are afraid of meeting what lives within them. But there is a profound difference between those who run from that encounter and those who choose to walk through it. The first spends an entire lifetime reacting to circumstances. The second slowly begins to govern his own existence. That is where ordinary men begin. Their transformation, not when life becomes easier, not when luck finally arrives, not when recognition comes. Transformation begins the moment they accept responsibility for facing what no one else can face for them. It is in that moment that a different kind of strength is born, a silent strength. It has nothing to prove. It does not seek applause. It does not depend on the approval of the world. It grows every time you choose truth over illusion, discipline over excuses, and awareness over impulse. That strength changes more than your behavior. It changes the way you see reality. And when the way you see reality changes, everything else begins to change with it. But there is still one obstacle hidden in the shadows, an obstacle so powerful that it can convince a person they are awake while they remain deeply asleep. And it is precisely this invisible enemy that you are about to meet. There is a reason why so many people believe they are awake when, in reality, they are living on autopilot. That reason is not a lack of intelligence, nor is it a lack of information. It is the most dangerous illusion a human being can ever embrace, believing that they truly know themselves. Jung believed that the ego will do everything in its power to preserve the image we have created of ourselves. It would rather protect a comfortable lie than confront a truth capable of transforming our entire existence. That is precisely why profound change is so rare. Imagine a man who promises himself every Sunday that Monday will be the beginning of a new life. He buys books, he organizes his schedule, he watches videos about discipline, he writes down goals, he creates detailed plans. In that moment, he genuinely believes this time will be different. Then Monday arrives, the alarm goes off. He hits the snooze button just once, then again, 5 more minutes quietly become 30. The workout can wait until tomorrow. Studying can wait. Healthy eating will begin next week. At the end of the day, he convinces himself it was simply a bad day. The problem is that the same story repeats itself for months, sometimes for years. Have you ever noticed how almost no one questions this cycle? People say they lack motivation. They say life is exhausting, that work drains all their energy, that life has become too difficult. All of that may be true, but there is a far more important question. Who made that decision the moment the alarm clock rang? Was it really you? Or was it a pattern that had already been programmed into your mind? That is the trap. Most people believe they are making conscious choices. In reality, they are simply repeating behaviors that have become familiar. The more often a habit is repeated, the less awareness it requires. It is like driving down a road you know by heart. After several miles, you suddenly realize you've arrived without remembering most of the journey. Your mind took over. Now imagine that happening with your entire life. How many words have you spoken without thinking? How many decisions have you made simply because that is how you've always done it? How many relationships have you kept alive out of fear of change? How many opportunities have you rejected just to remain inside the safety of what was familiar? Perhaps the greatest prison was never built with walls. Perhaps it was built with invisible habits. Habits repeated so consistently that they convinced you your limitations were your identity. That is why some people spend decades believing they were born shy. Others believe they were born to fail. Some convince themselves they were never meant to lead. Others spend their entire lives repeating that they simply are not intelligent enough. But is any of that actually true? Or have those stories been repeated so often that they became indistinguishable from reality? Jung believed that whatever remains unrecognized within us is eventually projected onto the world around us. Those who refuse to acknowledge their own insecurity begin to see enemies everywhere. Those who reject their own vulnerability spend their lives trying to appear strong. Those who never confront their fears eventually build an entire existence around avoiding them. Without realizing it, reality becomes filtered through everything that remains unconscious. That is why two people can experience exactly the same event and walk away completely transformed in opposite directions. One discovers wisdom, the other collects resentment. One grows stronger, the other grows harder. The difference is rarely the event itself. The difference lies in the meaning each mind gives to what it experiences. Take a moment to observe your own life. When someone criticizes you, what is your first reaction? When a plan falls apart, do you search for a solution or for someone to blame? When fear appears, do you move forward? Or do you create an elegant excuse to stay exactly where you are? The answers to those questions reveal far more about your identity than any motivational speech ever could, because pressure has a remarkable effect. It strips away the mask. When life becomes uncomfortable, truth steps into the light. There is an ancient image often used by wise teachers. Gold reveals its purity only after passing through fire. Human beings are no different. As long as life is comfortable, almost anyone appears confident, almost anyone appears disciplined, almost anyone appears mentally strong. But the moment life turns up the heat, your true inner structure is revealed. And that is when many people discover something deeply unsettling. They spent years strengthening their image, but almost no time strengthening their character. Perhaps that is why small obstacles are capable of destroying enormous dreams. Not because the dream was impossible, but because the foundation required to support it was never built. The good news is that no foundation is permanent. What has been learned can be unlearned. What has been conditioned can be rebuilt. But there is a price. You will have to let go of an identity that may have followed you your entire life. And very few things frighten a human being more than allowing the person they thought they were to die. That is where the real journey begins. Not the journey toward success, the journey toward truth. And almost no one is prepared for what waits on the other side.